Save the Children and Jill Biden's role in that organization?
So in 2017, Jill Biden was elected as chair of the board of directors of Save the Children. Save the Children is one of these NGOs that supposedly is supposed to be providing aid and comfort to these children that need a home, or they need to find refuge. That they're the ones that's going to coordinate a sponsor or an adult figure that where they can take the child that says, yeah, my parents abandoned me, or I've been raped, I've been assaulted, I've had a really bad life. Save the Children comes in, they act as that humanitarian aid foundation, they take the child in, and then they try to coordinate the delivery of that child to a so-called sponsor in America, or a sponsor in some third world country that can actually take custody of that child and provide that child with a better life.
Okay, so Save the Children is an organization that is supposed to help children. Watch how many big names are connected to it. And now this group has been rated as one of the largest child trafficking organizations in the world.
And Jill Biden was appointed as chair of the board of directors in 2017. And on April 25th of 2024, Save the Children was rated for trafficking children out of Guatemala into America by the Attorney General of Guatemala.
So before they became president, Jill and Joe Biden, Jill was appointed the head of this organization.
Not just Save the Children, but there was 5 NGOs total that were also rated simultaneously with Save the Children, but Save the Children being the kingpin. Save the Children in 1985 was working with Ghislaine Maxwell. In 2003 was working with the Clintons. In 2012 was working with the Obama Foundation. In 2017 was working with Harry and Meghan from the...
So Ghislaine Maxwell of the Jeffrey Epstein case, the Clinton Foundation, the Obama administration, and Meghan oh shoot, they just said his name, Harry, Prince Harry, here in the United States. All of these groups are connected to Save the Children, which has been busted for trafficking over 190,000 children.
The royal family. Pretty much every single person that was on the Epstein list, if we were to assume, we would get the Epstein list, we would assume who was on it. Almost every single person that was on the Epstein list at some point did some type of promotion with Save the Children. Save the Children.
So they were raided by the Guatemalan government for child trafficking. So they would traffic the children to, and here's the article here. Guatemalan prosecutors raid offices of Save the Children charity. The prosecutors say that this could be a complaint against migrant children's rights, child trafficking. What happened here? Did people go to prison? People go to jail?
They raided the foundation. The crazy part about that is, Benny, is they contacted Ken Paxton, and they wanted to do a collaboration with Ken Paxton because they wanted to not only raid the offices in Texas or in Guatemala, they wanted to simultaneously raid the offices in Texas. But because Ken Paxton was getting attacked by the Biden administration, they assumed that communication between Ken Paxton and their office fell on deaf ears.
Okay, did you hear that? This is big, big, big stuff. Okay, so at the same time that they wanted to raid the office in Guatemala, they were trying to raid the office here in Texas in the United States. And they were trying to get Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, to sign off on that. Behind the scenes, what you and I weren't aware of is that the Biden administration was purposely attacking Ken Paxton and keeping him tied up in court. If you go back and look, they actually tried to impeach him during this time, saying that he used voter money, taxpayer money, to remodel his kitchen. This whole thing was a bogus story to take light off of Jill Biden for being the head of this group that was just busted for child trafficking. Do you see what they're doing? They're doing a bait and switch here, or running a distraction campaign so that Ken Paxton wasn't aware of what was going on.
So that's why I've tried to be on the forefront of this and trying to kind of promote this and put this out there and saying, hey, like Ken Paxton, the Guatemalan Attorney General's office wants to work with you. They want to work with the Trump administration. They've already been in contact with Todd Bensman. They've been in contact with the Trump administration. And they're saying, hey, the Guatemalan Attorney General's office right now is willing to do whatever is necessary to work with the Trump administration to completely eradicate child trafficking, not just eradicate child trafficking, to put an end to this weaponized mass migration. And they're willing to do whatever it takes. And so they raided the foundation, Save the Children. And since raiding that foundation, right, they raided on April 25th of 2025 or 2024. And for the first time in American history, since we recorded the data, goes all the way back to 2012, the amount of children coming from Guatemala decreased by 23% year over year. To put that into context, over the last 4 years, Benny, 190,052 children have been kidnapped and trafficked out of Guatemala and arrived at our border without a parent. And they've been processed into this system that Alejandro Mayorkas and Xavier Abasar have created. And then now we can't find 75% of those Guatemalan children.
Okay. Becerra and Mayorkas also need to be investigated. 190,000 children just from Guatemala were trafficked into the United States of America, and 75% of them cannot be found. This is an absolute travesty.
190,000 children coming out of a country the size that has a population the size of 15 million. That is a mathematical anomaly, Benny. That's not possible. It's not feasibly possible. You know, we've heard stories about the Clintons, right? And we heard about Laura Silsby and the 40 children she tried to kidnap out of Haiti. Twice, Laura Silsby got busted taking 40 children out of Haiti. Whether you want to call that a conspiracy theory or not, I think we're past that at this point. But 40 children coming out of one country, she got busted twice doing it. 190,000 children have been trafficked out of Guatemala, and they've been processed. And our government, the United States government, has taken custody of these children. They've processed them into the system, and now we can't find about roughly 75% of those 190,000 children.
Do you have any evidence other than the position and title that Jill Biden was knowingly servicing and allowing for the child trafficking from Guatemala into America, that she willingly and wantonly did that? Because that's a really, Brian, that's a really big bombshell. I mean, for a first lady, it's one thing to have Mayorkas. For a first lady to be a part of an operation like that is demonic.
Benny, it's beyond demonic, and I don't want to make any claims that I can't back up, but I was just given a thumb drive on my last trip to Guatemala 2 days ago. I was so afraid that I didn't even fly back into the United States with this thumb drive. I flew back into El Salvador so I could release this information. And on this thumb drive, I have offshore bank accounts of Todd Robinson. Todd Robinson is the previous ambassador to Guatemala. When you talk about this child trafficking operation that's being ran out of Guatemala, it didn't happen overnight. This is a 5, 10, 20-year operation that was created with U.S. aid, and specific people were put into key positions. And Jill Biden being elected as the chair of the board of directors of Save the Children, and then Save the Children being rated for child trafficking. I mean, obviously, you start to sound like a conspiracy theorist when you start to go down these rabbit holes. So I don't want to make any claims that I can't back up. But as of right now, in my possession, I have offshore bank accounts from Todd Robinson. He was the ambassador of Guatemala, appointed by Barack Obama. And I believe that Trump at one point removed him from power in 2017.
Okay. Wow. This is a lot to take in. Did you hear what he just said there? So he has he has a thumb drive with all of the private offshore accounts of the person that Barack Obama put into place to manage this. On top of that, they're covering up for Jill Biden, the Clinton Foundation, the Obama administration, other people connected to Jeffrey Epstein. This guy was so scared at the data he has, he didn't even fly back to America. He's sitting in El Salvador waiting for somebody to launch an investigation so that he can share this information. I really hope that Trump will get this. Trump's onto something with this guy being let go, this Obama appointed person. Trump said, I got a bad feeling, let the guy go, but there was no investigation, probably because of the COVID lockdowns, but now it needs to be reopened. Don't you find that a little bit suspicious that the former First Lady, Jill Biden, was the head of an organization that was raided for trafficking 190,000 children into the United States of America? So weird. All right, let me know your thoughts, please. I want to hear from you. I want to read these comments. This is disgusting to me. I believe this needs to be investigated immediately. As of right now, what we're doing is we're connecting the dots, showing something's not right with the Clintons, something's not right with the Obamas, something's not right with Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jill Biden, and they're all connected to this child trafficking ring out of Guatemala that is supposed to save the children, not traffic the children. All right, I hate those gross stories, but you have to be made aware of them. All right, in international news,